Thanks for tuning into the Hidden Tracks podcast. You can find us wherever you find podcasts or listen to music. When you have an opportunity, please give us a 5-star review, write a little note, tell us how we're doing. We really appreciate it. It helps us keep this thing going. If you want to reach out to us, you can find us at Facebook at Hidden Tracks. Instagram is at HiddenTracks99, and if you'd like to send in submissions or talk to us or give us any feedback about what we're doing, our email is myhiddentracks99@gmail.com. Thank you so much again for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy the show. What's up, everybody? Welcome to a very special 2-part episode on this week's edition of Hidden Tracks. I had the great pleasure to interview one of my favorite bands of all time and two people I respect and admire greatly for everything they've done and everything they've given me throughout my life. The band ELLIOTT. You've heard me talk about them plenty of times on here, so please tune in, listen to both parts. This is one of their very first interviews since announcing their reunion after 20 years to come out and play Furnace Fest in the year 2022. So please log in, check it out. Disclaimer, there will be some fanboying, but I hope you enjoy. What's up, everybody? Special edition of Hidden Tracks here. I have one of the people that was a part of one of the most pivotal bands that you've heard me talk about so often on the show, a band called ELLIOTT out of Louisville, Kentucky. I have Kevin with me today, and I couldn't be happier to invite you onto the show. How are you doing today, Kevin?
Oh, man. Well, first of all, I'm just honored to be here. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk about it and just for even caring at all. I'm great. I'm great today. I'm actually playing that game that we all play now of, is it allergies or is it COVID? So I apologize if I'm a little loopy. I'm feeling, just like, just feeling a little funny, but I think it's probably just allergies, but I'm mostly doing great. Thank you for asking.
Good. Well, I hope it's just allergies, because it is funny that anytime you have a single cough that you never thought about a day before in your life, you cough now and you're just like, oh no.
I know. So I'm also very grateful too, because, just hearing now when you hear friends, they're like, oh, I got COVID, or like my kids got COVID. You're not freaking out, worrying. It's almost just like, I got the flu, and you're like, okay, great. You're going to be good. You're going to recover. I don't have to worry, So I'm very grateful that we're in that phase of it now.
Me too. It's brought us back to being able to see some live music, which was the thing I missed most.
My gosh, I'm so excited. Yes.
So I'm going to tell you a quick little story about how myself and another man from Louisville, Kentucky, Seth Robinson of the band Nowhere Fast, was on the show, and we were waxing poetic about how awesome ELLIOTT was. And we finished our interview, and we talked a lot about the Louisville scene and how much ELLIOTT meant to him and what you guys meant to me. And literally a week after we recorded that interview, it was announced you guys got back together for a reunion show.
We heard about it. I mean, Chris called me, and he was like, man, Seth and Shane were talking, and I think we have to get the band back together. And I was like, you know what? We've been waiting. We talked about this 20 years ago. Once Seth and Shane talk about it, we'll do it. So we were just waiting for you guys, really.
See, I figured that was the problem, and I should have talked about it a lot sooner on some episodes.
Oh, that's so great! What a cool coincidence.
Yeah, I mean, what brought you guys to say, hey, now's the time?
Well, God, there's so many things, a lot of it, a lot of it has to do with Furnace Fest, honestly. I mean, the people who run it have been just trying to get us to do this for a long time. And we were just never ready or thought that we would really ever do it. And also I should preface this by saying that when ELLIOTT broke up, it was nothing but good vibes, and like there was no anger, and it was all love. We just decided to part ways, and Chris and I have stayed close friends ever since, and we've all kind of remained, in communication, and would see each other and spend time with one another. So there was never any bad blood, but we just figured that ship had sailed, and it was time for a new, just new things. And we just never really considered it that much. And then the Furnace Fest just kept asking and kept asking. And then it just kind of got to the point where it really felt like there was a real genuine care for it. And it wasn't something that we were necessarily going to be doing to rekindle some sort of flame on our own, but it was something that people really wanted, and I have a recording studio, and I haven't stopped making music and making records with people. And it's so interesting how over the last few years I've started meeting all these new people, and even people from a generation before us, that were like, Elliott was an influence on them, which was just flabbergasting to me, because to me it almost felt like another lifetime, and actually one of my best friends who plays in this band Strand of Oaks, he actually met his wife at an Elliott show in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, and that was so interesting to find out about. And all these kind of balls started rolling, and we just started thinking about it. And it started to become more of a thing where we were like, maybe if the time is right, and we'll just see. And it wasn't a no anymore. It was kind of more of a maybe, And then for me personally, I recently, a few months ago, went and saw the Rolling Stones. They played here in Los Angeles, where I live, and I like the Rolling Stones. I love the Rolling Stones. I've never been like a huge Rolling Stones fanatic, but I've always loved the Rolling Stones. But I have a few friends that are like massive Rolling Stones fans, and they wanted to go, and I was like, you know what, I should go. Like, this would be maybe the last opportunity to see the Rolling Stones. And it was also, it was just a few months ago, before the Omicron came. So it was like, there were concerts again, and then we were just so excited to see live music. And so we went and saw the Rolling Stones, and I was not prepared to feel the feelings that I felt, and saw what I saw, which was to see these people bring the music that they wrote from their teenage years, around the time that we wrote like False Cathedrals, to bring it into the present in this beautiful way, with all of this celebration. And it wasn't really about them. It was just a celebration of the moment, and all those people in that arena singing and dancing and crying and like emoting, and watching them bring the past into the present with love and celebration in this way that was just kind of an aha moment for me, where I feel like I had wrongly thought that Elliott was the past and now was the present. And now I'm kind of realizing that it's all interconnected, in this way where there's no break, that is the foundation from which I stand. And everything that has happened to me since really has been so, has like vibrated from that time, and I guess it's kind of like honoring that foundation at which I stand on, and we stand on, and then just like realizing that it can be this celebration and this beautiful thing. And that was a huge part of it for me, really.
Well,
was that moment.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff where it is. And I mean, one of the things that I got upset about was when that you guys were announced that you were going to play Furnace Fest this year. I looked at my wife and I said, shit, I got to go to Furnace Fest, because we went this past year. And I was like, shit, I got to go back to Furnace Fest. I was like, man, I'm not prepared for, and it's weird because it takes so much out of you, as it's a perfect festival. Run great by everybody there. And it was like, when the weekend was over, I think I was just emotionally like, I just got to see all these bands that I absolutely love. I'm like, and it was just that whole scene from back then too, with everybody playing like Mineral and Get Up Kids and all those guys. And I'm like, I just wish Elliott was here. I'm like, and then I would have been like, you know what? If the plane goes down on the way home, it's all good.
No. Oh man, we're just honored. And we had a really special show I'll never forget it when we played Furnace Fest 20 years ago, whenever that was. It was a really, really special moment. I don't know if a lot of people know the story, but it's a story that I'll never forget. But when we were playing Furnace Fest the first and only time, I got heat exhaustion while we were playing, and I threw up all over my drums and just continued to play through the song as like vomit was flying through the air, bouncing off of my drums. And I don't know if anyone ever knew that it happened, because it was kind of before cell phones, and there was like, I don't know if it was really captured, but today, of course, it would have been all over everyone's Instagram stories, but there was a guy that had a video of it, this guy from Italy, and he'd always told me he was going to send it to me, and he never did. I don't even remember what his name was, but it was such a funny story. Hopefully that doesn't happen again, but
well, you're lucky. You could have pigeonholed yourself there and been the vomiting drummer for like the rest of your life.
Exactly. Exactly. Totally. I remember the moment so vividly where I was playing, and we were playing the song called Drag Like Pull, which was on Song in the Air, our last record. And it was this like long instrumental that was like pretty drum intensive. And I remember about 2 minutes before the song was over, it was like reaching the climax. And I was like, oh my God, I think I'm going to get sick. And I was like, I can make it to the end of the song. I was like, I can make it. And then I'll just stop playing and I'll go run in the back and I'll just like get this out. And just before I knew it, I was just like hurling everywhere, and I was just like, don't stop playing. And then at the end, I tried to like stand up or, get up and go like run off and like finish throwing up. And then I slipped in my own vomit and was like dry heaving in my own vomit at my drum. So that's my memory of Furnace Fest. So hopefully we can create a better one than that this time.
Hopefully we can create a better one just for you this time.
Yeah, but even that being said, I still remember that show being really special, and I love that venue so much. Los Furnaces is like just so special, that what they did with that place, how they transformed it, and the juxtaposition of all of the botanical garden aspect with like all of the old industry and the rusting metal and plants, and it's just so beautiful.
Yeah, it's definitely a cool place, and that was my thing when they announced they were going to have another one this year, and I was just like, I just, because it's one of those things too. I had a couple of people who were there, and I said to them, they're like, you got to think back in the day when the first Furnace Fest happened. Everyone that's coming now you're not fitting 75 people to one hotel room, because back then we're all in our 20s, and right. I mean, it was hard to come by to go to Alabama from any other state and get there. And this time, as an adult, I mean, yes, I'm in my mid 40s and I'll classify myself as somewhat of an adult now, but being a child with adult money is dangerous too. I mean, I had to get a whole nother suitcase to bring home t-shirts.
Oh man, it is going to be interesting because it feels like it'll be a lot of the same people, just 20 years older, which is cool. But it also does seem like there's a new generation of kids that weren't old enough to go to shows when we were doing stuff in the late 90s and early 2000s who are into that stuff. So it'll be cool to see that generation as well.
Yeah, and I mean, one of my things that I had always, being on the scene and watching how it grew, it was, to me, my disappointment came when you guys were no more. I happened to be at one of your last shows in Maxwell's in Hoboken, New Jersey. And to know that it was coming to an end was like surreal, because literally like 2 years later is when that scene it took off and people became famous. And I was like, why is no one thinking or remembering about these bands that preceded them, that were better than them, that paved the way, such as an ELLIOTT? And that's what was hard to me to watch, even, 5 years younger than me. And they would come up to me and be like, oh my God, do you like My Chemical Romance? And I was like, oh, not that much. I'm like, but why don't you check these guys out? Because there'd be no My Chemical Romance without ELLIOTT. There'd be no Used there'd be none of these bands without these bands that preceded them. Why don't you give them a shot?
Right. Yeah. I mean, It's cool. It was cool. It was cool to watch some of those bands. Just like it all happened so fast. I remember My Chemical Romance opened for us. Like maybe God 6 months before they were on the cover of Rolling Stone. It was like
Yeah.
it was wild to see. But you know what? They went for it. It's like more power to them. They definitely deserved it. I mean, they had a cool vision and they were like totally dedicated. And I didn't really listen to a lot of it, but I kind of did like the some of the visual stuff, and just that it felt like it had like a theme to it, which was cool. But and they seemed like nice kids, and whatever. But yeah, it was wild. It was wild to witness, no doubt.
Now, when did music become something to you? Like, you've entrenched yourself in music for a very long time. I know your story. Our listeners don't. Like, in your life, there's two poignant moments. The first time you hear music, and then it's the first time you find your own music. Do you remember your
Hmm.
first musical memory?
Oh God, yeah, yeah. I remember I had this little Fisher Price record player. It was like a blue jean. It was like this little you could just play 45s on it. And I had I'll never forget there was this Yes song. God, what is the name of that song? Let me look it up. I remember it was like Supertramp, the Logical song. I don't know if you know that song.
Mm-hmm.
And this like Yes song I remember hearing on the radio and just being like, it just kind of tapping me on the shoulder for the first time and being like, what is this? And then also Rock Me Amadeus. Those were like, I still remember those were like the three little records that was like made my parents get for me. And I just like remember playing them over and over again. But I come from a pretty musical family where my dad is an amazing piano player and my grandma was an amazing piano player and my brother who's older than me was an amazing drummer and played a little bit of everything, and my sister played piano and we had a piano in the house. My mom played piano, and like it was just we were always kind of around music. And my brother's 8 years older than me, and him and my dad both played in bands from the out of the womb. I was going to watch my dad and my brother play. They played in cover bands around Louisville, Kentucky, when we were growing up. But they were playing shows, and so I was just kind of always around music. And I would always, be standing behind the drummer. Like I was always into the drummer, just like watching him. And yeah, so I was kind of entrenched in it. But I remember that Yes song and that Supertramp The Logical song being like really first like songs where I was like, I like this. There's something about it spoke to me personally, and I was probably like 6 years old, like five, maybe even younger, maybe 5 or 6. And the Cars, God, I remember Who's Gonna Take You Home Tonight? Oh my God, I'll never forget hearing that song on the radio and just being like, wow, what is this? This is different. And then it wasn't until like my brother was really I always just liked what my brother liked, and my brother was really into like Motley Crue and like Warrants and Poison and Bad Company and Journey and all that stuff. And I really loved that stuff growing up. And then when I was maybe in 6th grade or 7th grade, then I found like Led Zeppelin and like Metallica. And I remember taking that to my brother and I'd be like, this is fucking cool too. And Pink Floyd, and my brother's like, fuck that. That's horrible. Like no interest in that. And then I was like, oh my God, I'm different than my brother. And it was like this huge realization, so that was I guess that was like my little like where my little satellite broke off into my own orbit, there.
Yeah, and that's a special moment in people's lives, growing up around music and listen, you said your grandmother, your father, great piano players. So are you. Don't, shut that off. You wrote some great piano tunes. So, but one of my things that I look at is, you grow up in that, I guess we call it hair metal or glam rock or whatever it was. I grew up in that same time. My brother's 10 years older than me, so I have basically the same kind of path
Right. Yeah.
you did. And then I was lucky enough, my sister, who was only 4 years older than me, she actually got me into New Wave and The Cure and Depeche Mode
Yes.
and Joy
Dude,
Division.
so funny. That's exactly my story too. My sister is 5 years older than me. And then she got me into like NXS, and like The Cure. Totally. It's so funny.
Yeah, and it's funny about back in the day. I still have my core group of friends. There's like 8 of us who are still from grade school till now. Like we still hang out and we're still friends. And they're like, we're sorry for making fun of you for listening to The Cure because now we get it. And I'm like,
Yeah,
okay.
Right. Totally.
Now
Yeah.
from your brother, like, I mean, how did you pick what instrument you wanted to do? Was it, I mean, because you were a drummer, and drumming it's the most pivotal piece in a band, but was that
Mm-hmm.
your first love? Was that your first love
Oh
instrument?
my God. This is something I've thought about so much as of recent, especially during the pandemic, and I really started spending a lot more time trying to get better at the guitar and playing more piano and learning a lot more, like just theory and just getting more comfortable on the guitar and keyboards. So when I was younger, well, first of all, I was so lucky, so grateful for this. But my brother's band and my dad's band both practiced in our basement, and my mother passed away when I was really young, and my brother and my sister had already gone away to school. So they were like living in the dorms, going to college. My sister actually moved to St. Louis, and my dad was always at work. And so I had the house completely to myself. And in the basement was 2 bands equipment and a full PA, you know. So I could just go down there and just go wild, which I did. But my first instrument, I really wanted to play the guitar so bad. I was just like, it just spoke to me so much. And so I rented a guitar from the local, music shop and a little amp. And I kind of started playing the guitar. And then my brother's horrible, horrible friends would stick their head in and be like, "You suck, you sound terrible," and just like make fun of me. And so I was so embarrassed. And so I put the guitar away and I was like, I'm not supposed to be a guitar player. And then for whatever reason, I started playing the drums. And then I was just really naturally good at that really quickly. And they were like, "Oh, you're a great drummer. You should play drums." And I was like, "I guess I'm supposed to be a drummer." And so from that reinforcement from my brother and his friends, I thought that I was supposed to be a drummer. And I love playing drums, and I'll always love playing drums. But I feel like I told myself for about 20 years that I wasn't a guitar player or a piano player, that those weren't my instruments. And then over the last, 20 years, I've slowly started playing those instruments more. And then one of my best friends from Louisville asked me to go on tour with him playing guitar. And I didn't really play much guitar, but he was like, "Oh, you'll be fine. It'll be fun." And so I went on tour with him playing guitar. And then I realized that I loved playing the guitar. And if I spent the amount of time on it that I did on the drums, that I could, do that just as well. And I was like, God, you got to be careful what the stories you tell yourself, because you really will believe them. So I told myself for a long time that I wasn't a guitar player. And I kind of wish that there's a part of me that wonders what would have happened if I just would have ignored them and just kind of kept on that path. But so a lot of it was really like my brother's bully friends that made me a drummer.
Well, hey, listen, in the day and age that bullying is a huge thing right now. I mean, back then with that bullying, I mean, it turned you into one of my favorite drummers of all time. So I thank them for bullying you.
Yeah, it was like, well, I was like, I'll fucking show them. It's like, I'm going to pick up something and be good at it. But I love the drums so much. And it'll always be my most fluid instrument, and luckily that stuff never really goes away. It's like once you kind of map your brain for that stuff, it kind of sticks around. So it's been kind of fun to like start to learn other instruments, because you can always jump back on the drums at any point and kind of pick up where you left off.
Yeah, it's my wife was a drummer, and it's like she hadn't played drums in, I don't know, 15 years or so. And we were at a friend's house. Their kid plays drums. She got behind, and she still play that 3/4 like it was nothing. I'm like, I guess it
Yeah.
just doesn't ever go anywhere.
Yeah, it really doesn't. It's so funny too. I'm actually reading this book right now called "The Brain That Changes Itself." It's about neuroplasticity, and how our brains operate. So, well, a lot of neuroscience and how your brain wires itself and how you can kind of unwire it and rewire it. And it's so fascinating learning about musical instruments. And it's so funny. Like as a right-handed person, I can sit on the drums, and feel really comfortable and do all this stuff or whatever. And then if I try to do it left-handed, I can't do it, but I should be able to because the concepts are the same, but you just haven't literally mapped that part of your brain yet. And it's so fun to like just get out and like start soldering all those little synapses and things together. And that how once you kind of do it, it just sticks around. It's like once you know how to drive through New York, you always know where Houston is. Or you always know where it's like you kind of orient yourself. It's like all that. Once you do it once, it just kind of stays there. It's fascinating.
Now, once you got bullied into playing the drums, and your brain was wired that you were a drummer and nothing else, did you want to rush out and start a band because that's what people do when they learn an instrument? Like the first thing you do is rush out, and I got to find other people that want to do what I'm doing.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think I forced my first band together, of like picking which friend was going to play what, and like all that stuff. And yeah, that was,
what was the name of that first band?
The first band I was in was called As Time Passes.
All right. It's not horrible. Yeah, it's not horrible. We've had some really bad ones on here. So.
We were a cover band. We played like The Doors and Led Zeppelin and, all that stuff. And it was super fun.
Were you into writing music, or was it just playing music at that time?
Yeah. You know what? I remember as a young child, before I even had many memories, loving to sit at the piano and just play and just kind of improv and like tickle around the piano. I always loved that. And it was about around freshman year in high school when I started being like, I think I can write songs, like sitting at the piano and like kind of being able to like figure it out. And like, there's always been a huge music fan. So you are like listening to songs and seeing how songs are arranged and like being like, I think I can do this,
Yeah. And I mean, there's something that I'll bring up a little later of an album that you put out that I bought at one of the last shows, the Boundless and Starstruck, which is for anyone who's listening right now, because I know you're all Elliott fans, and if you don't know what it is, Kevin put out something and recorded it in 1997 called Boundless and Starstruck, Lesson in Celebration, and I still have my copy. I literally have it right in front of me. It's all worn and the paper is...
I might have to get you to send me a copy of it because I don't even have it.
So what I can tell you is I still listen to this day.
Wow, that's so amazing.
So, I mean, it shows that, even before Elliott became a thing, you wrote and recorded something. And I mean, that's what's awesome about to see how things just progress in people's lives. And, it's something that's short, it's sweet, it's beautiful, and you just wrote it and recorded it, and there it is. And that's what I love about music, because it's never going to go anywhere because it's still here in front of me. Mm-hmm. But when you were trying to put things together and coming up with new ideas and then playing, I mean, what was it like when you started to go like play in front of people who, weren't your Bully Brothers friends and stuff like that? Do you remember like your first live performance you ever played, like at a talent show or something?
Oh God, yeah. I remember actually my very first real performance would have been, well, other than like the talent show in like 5th or 6th grade when I played how much was that doggy in the window on the piano and totally butchered it, and I have a horrible memory of that. I guess in seventh grade, my band played covered "Kickstart My Heart" by Motley Crue at the talent show, and that was like I'll never. I mean, it was just a huge moment. It's like I feel like we prepared for it for months and months and months and talked about it forever, and it was like this huge deal. And I still have memories of that.
Good memories or bad memories?
And it was awesome. No, it was great. It was wonderful. Yeah. It was like just that camaraderie of that family aspect of kind of being in a band, of like being in a group, a group of people. We are doing something together, I've always loved that, whether it's like, theatrical or music or anything, just like people doing stuff together and like working with people and bouncing ideas off of one another and like kind of sharing an experience together. It's like, I've always just really loved that experience. I actually remember I have this very vivid memory of maybe when I was in like fifth grade or sixth grade. I was like, I don't know how this happened, but like my dad or my mom or somebody, like I had a friend who was doing like a fashion show or something, and I was part of this like kid fashion show where it's like wearing all these clothes for some company. I don't remember. And it was like me and like 15 other kids were like these like kids, we were doing this thing, it was like this model thing. And I'll never forget, it was like a weekend long. And then that when I came home on Sunday night after it was over, I just bawled. I didn't know why. I was like, why am I crying? Why am I so sad? And it took me, till getting older to realize it's like, oh, I missed all those people. I loved doing that thing together with other people,
Yeah, I mean that
I've always
that
kind of
that
been like that.
It's that when you do things with a group of people, and there's memories, and people never understand certain things you do, and that's the thing of a band too. When you're traveling around in a van and you get to know people, and other people, it's hard to explain to them the experiences that you had. I was in the military, and like I don't talk a lot about my experiences, but all those people that I experienced things with, we know exactly what we went through, and we're still friends, 25 years later. And it's just like, no one else knows, but we're still really good friends. And anytime we talk, it's like years could go by, and it's like we never left each other because of those experiences that you long for. And you've, good or bad, there's still experiences that are amazing.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, in ELLIOTT, it's kind of like that. Obviously, ELLIOTT is, like being in the military is way more like intense and formative, like of an experience with people. But, Chris and I didn't talk that, we didn't hang out a ton. We'd see each other once every 6 months or whatnot. And like Jay, our guitar player, I mean, God, I've only seen Jay like maybe 3 or 4 times since he left the band in 2000, But when we decided to do this again, and we were all on the phone together, and like we've been chatting, and it's just like, it's funny. It's like you're saying, it's like no time has passed, It's like we're all kind of exactly the same in a lot of ways, and it's like that connection is just like you just pick up right where you left off,
Yeah, because you know each other more intimately than most people do, because you spent so much time with each other, and you experienced so many things that so many people don't get to experience.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's interesting too because a lot of it is I've now with the technology and with the ability to like, we've got this little device in our pockets where you can connect with anybody. We didn't have that when we were doing the ELLIOTT thing, and so it's especially with the Jay, who's never really dealt with, been like a huge technology person, and like he didn't even, I don't think, have a phone for a very long time, but like we probably would have stayed more in contact had we had like the ability to, text and stuff like that and whatnot. But it was so funny how like ELLIOTT kind of existed in this time period before the technology, that the digitizing of communication happened, so rapidly.
Yeah. And that's, like, I mean, you brought up, there's a moment in your little documentary that came with a photo recording, and you and Chris hugging after the last show, just like you brought it up, and I love that. And I hate the fact that you have to explain it too, but I love the fact that you did that. You just realized it was coming to an end. Like it ran its course. We think this is the best that we can get out of it. And it was just like, you could see how sad it was, but you could also see when you were like, and it's a little snippet in that documentary that you're sad, but you're also at the same time, you can see like a little bit of relief.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's funny because Elliott's always been a band of people who don't share the same musical ideals totally, and that's what made it really cool and really special in a lot of ways. You were all so different, and we didn't not get along. We actually got along really quite well. But we didn't always agree musically on a lot of things, and we're all very different people. And I think at the time we were kind of looking to be playing music with people that were a little bit more like-minded than ourselves, but actually with some separation from it now, kind of realizing like the fact that we were so different is really what made it so special too, so it's just interesting.
Yeah, I mean, to me there was, and again, like I go back to that whole scene, and if you want to lump things together and put bands together, I mean, that was my thing. Elliott stood out. Like it was Elliott and then everyone else. Like that's how I looked at it, because it was so different. There was so much complexities to your songs that was, anytime you listen to a song and you can listen to it for the 50th time and find something new in it, you're like, fuck. Like that's how complex they were, because you all were different, and that's what made it special, like you said.
Yeah, I mean, we had such a good time, and Elliott never really caught like a really good flow. Like we were always kind of so in flux. We're like, the band started, and then their drummer left. They made like a 7-inch, and the drummer left, and then I joined, and we recorded U.S. songs, and then very quickly after that, we started writing False Cathedrals. And that was when we were kind of like really just kind of starting everything. And then right when we recorded False Cathedrals, when we got home and Jay and Jonathan left the band, and then we really had to cobble together this new band to go on tour for False Cathedrals. And then we had this whole new band of other people that were extremely opinionated and amazing that we really loved, but we decided to kind of like change all the music from False Cathedrals to make it as if we had written that record with the new band that was going to be touring with it. So we rearranged the songs and all this stuff and took it on tour, and everyone hated it, because we weren't playing it the way it was on the record and all this stuff. And then we wrote another record with the new band, and then kind of broke up. And so Elliott just like never really had like a constant, like we never really hit our stride in a way. We were always kind of like tumbling, it felt.
Yeah. Now, do you remember your first show playing with them? What it was like?
Oh man, that's a great question. My first Elliott show. I don't know if I remember. It would have been in Louisville. I guess it would have been in Louisville. God, I don't even remember. I have no idea. You'll have to ask Chris. He might remember.
All right. I'll ask him later. Do you remember the first
show?
Do you remember your first concert ever that wasn't going to see your brother or father playing in a cover band? Do you remember your very first concert ever?
100%. It was Whitney Houston, and it was amazing.
Wow. That's almost like right up there with mine was Kenny Rogers. So like, wow.
Oh wow, yeah. It was Whitney Houston at Freedom Hall in Louisville, and I still remember where we were sitting. And it was amazing. And then my second concert was Michael Jackson on the Bad tour. And I still remember that. I still have vivid memories of that show. And where we were sitting, and oh my God, yeah.
Wow, that's
totally.
That's a better second one than mine, who was Barbara Mandrell. But
that's awesome.
What was your first show you got to see that was on a scene? That, something that you found that you had to go out and see, usually in your teen years at a VFW hall or something.
Totally. My first show was a band called a local Louisville band who was amazing, called King Horse. Who I remember it was probably freshman year in high school, and one of my friends was like had the tape, they had released a record. They had like actually come out to California, and Glenn Danzig produced their record. They were really, really good. It was kind of this like really raw kind of like rock metal thing. It was like almost like the Misfits meets like Guns N' Roses or something. And they were so good. And they had, they were like frightening, and they were like had long hair, and they were covered in tattoos, and like, I just remember going to that show, and it was just like, it was just such an aha moment of being like, holy shit, these are my people. Finally, I found this. This is in my backyard. This isn't people that are on MTV or on the radio. Like, these people live here. And these people live down the street. And all these people here, and they're freaks. And everybody's like, got like, their clothes, like they've painted all over them, and they've got like mohawks and tattoos, and it was just like, you found the freaks. And it was, I'll never forget. It was a skate park called Audubon Skate Park in Louisville, Kentucky, and it was just fucking packed. I mean, there was probably, way too many people in there. It was insane, and not even being able to see the band. I've never even seen them, but just like everyone was dancing, and singing along, and it was just like this cacophonous sound. It was like all you could hear was cymbals and the vocals, and just being so excited, and seeing like one of the guys from the band who was like taking the money at the door, and it was like, these people are doing it themselves. There's no operation here. This is like people that are taking matters in their own hands, and it was so exciting.
That's amazing. I mean, those are the stories too. Like I remember like the VFW hall, it just made me find the people that I didn't knew I needed to be around all the time, from seeing shows and watching bands grow, and just like, oh my God, this band came to my town. And to me, it's like, oh my God, they're so far away. They're in Pennsylvania. I'm in New Jersey. It wasn't that long of a drive, but like, I'm seeing, this band Weston that I really like, and they're playing in the VFW hall. This is amazing. And just seeing everyone else around there being like, wow, we're all here for the same thing. Like, that's such an awesome feeling.
And it was like all put on by kids too. It's crazy to think about now. It was like the whole operation wasn't like you were going to someone else's event. It was like, it was put on by your generation. It was like some other kid had rented the hall who was like 3 or 4 years older than you, and him and all his friends had like hung up all the flyers and told everybody, and it was just so cool how it felt like it was yours, and it was the counterculture of it, of being like, yes, these people are weird, and like, this makes more sense to me than MTV, or like, or mainstream culture. It was like, it just spoke to you in this way. Like you said, it just felt like you found your place.
Yeah. So, I mean, seeing that, and you yourself got to do that a bunch to start out with ELLIOTT. And I've asked this question to people before. A recent person who I interviewed, Frederick from Star Market, who's teaser, everyone out there listening to this, it will be coming out soon. But this question, his answer was ELLIOTT. So my question to you is there ever a band that you were on a ticket with that you just stood back in awe and watched them play and just be like, that's one of the greatest things I've ever seen?
Oh yeah. I mean, I guess it would have to be like, actually there was one show that we played opening up for 2 bands, and both of them I feel like would answer that question, and they were Judah 44 and Fugazi. Just huge influences on us, and just like amazing people, and just sitting back and just watching them and just being like, this is how you fucking do it. Oh my God. Definitely. Fugazi was like life changing, just like, it really felt like they were from a whole nother world. Like they were like gods from another world.
Yeah. I think Fugazi might've been one of my first shows at like a real venue in New York City at Roseland Ballroom. Like, I think Fugazi might have been one of my first like real shows ever.
Yeah. That's amazing. I can't even imagine. seeing that
Now,
like in a town like that, you know?
yeah, listen, I've been very lucky when it comes to just music with my family and all the influences I've had in my life, and also the fact of being in New Jersey and right outside of New York City. And whenever I wanted to, go to a show, if it wasn't at a VFW, I could get into the city real fast and go anywhere to see a show, like for $12. Like, the tickets, I still have all my ticket stubs, and being able to go back and be like, I saw these fucking bands for $8. Like, what the fuck?
Right.
Now,
I know it's
when
crazy,
it comes,
and shows aren't that much more expensive now. And you're like, wow, how's that work?
yeah, no,
I
somebody
went to a
asked
show
me the
last
other,
night for $10, you know?
yeah, somebody asked me to go to a show once, and I was like, yeah, like, how much are the tickets? They're like, oh, they're $38. I'm like, yeah, I don't go to those shows. Like, he's like, it's $38, dude. I'm like, yeah, I just have a problem. Like, it doesn't feel right.
Right.
But then I spent a shit ton of money to go to Furnace Fest. So, I mean, I shoot myself in the foot all the time.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, it's like it is an expensive world out there, you know? It is like, it kind of makes sense that shows are, I don't blink at all. I'll pay anything to go see live music, you know? It's so amazing. It's the one thing that you can't take away from anybody anymore, you know? To have that experience of like being completely in the moment, seeing something unfold in front of you in real time with passion and love is just like, it's like the one thing that can't be digitized. It can't be, there's no virtual reality version of it yet. It's like, it's actual real life, you know? And it's like, it's gold.
Yeah, and that's like nowadays when everybody has their cell phones up for the whole concert. I'm like, listen, I take a minute and a half,
Yeah.
because even if you are going to watch it again, you're not going to feel what you feel right now when it's in front of you.
Yeah. Oh, and it's sad too, because I think most people don't realize like the way that the brain operates too. When you're doing that, you're not going to remember it. You're actually cut yourself off from the memory of it. So when you're using your phone to record events, and the way that you're not concentrating, and if you're not concentrating, then you won't have a memory of it. So it's like you can have the video, but it's like, does the video really do it justice? You know?
No, it never does. Now, here's if you met a stranger and you told them that you were in a band once called ELLIOTT, what song of ELLIOTT's would you play for them?
Oh, wow. That's a good question. I guess one of my favorites has always, well, this is interesting because this happened recently. So my girlfriend, I've been telling her, she doesn't know anything about ELLIOTT. I'm like, oh, by the way, my old band from 20 years ago, we're gonna play again. And she was like, what? She lives in, she just lives in a totally different world and didn't even know I played in this band, which I love, and she's like, well, what's it like, And so the very first song I played for her was Shallow Like Your Breath, which I've always just really loved that song. Another, if I had to pick a second one, or maybe a second first song, it would maybe be Beijing, Too Many People off Song in the Air. But yeah, those two songs have always been favorites of mine.
Nice. You got to those pretty quickly, as opposed, some people have a really tough time, and I like that you've had to think about this since it happened recently. So I got you at the right time.
Yeah, because I was like, okay, here's the record. Like, what do I play her first?
Well, because that's what I think so hard, when someone asks me, or if I show someone a band, and I would just say, oh, I literally, it's what I do. I search through music, I find it, and then I give it to other people. And I say, okay, I know it's not in the order of the album, but listen to this song first and then go back to the album, because it'll give you everything you need, because every song could be a little different and more complexities throughout the album. But here's a song, listen to this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
now,
totally.
Is there something in your life that you listen to that, someone would be really surprised that drummer of a former, I guess, he's not a bad word, people, emo band back in the day. Is there something that you get total enjoyment out of still that people would think is definitely weird?
I mean, I feel like my musical taste would probably. I mean, I actually never really listened to a lot of the music that was in the Elliott world. You know, so I kind of always come from like a little bit of a different world. Like even when I joined the band, like I was listening to mostly like Sonic Youth and like Tortoise and um a little bit more, you know, kind of like noise rock and stuff like that. And then I mean now, I mean like God, I'm just so all over the place. I mean like I listen to a lot of jazz, a lot of, and probably this year some of the like things I've listened to the most are like Alice Coltrane and Duke Ellington. Um, they have been just on constant rotation, but then also everywhere from like Queen to like REM and Outkast. I feel like in the last 5 months, those have probably been my biggest rotation. Is like Alice Coltrane, Miles Davis, Outkast, Queen, and REM have probably been what I've listened to the most, you know. But I'm really all over the place. I mean, I just like, me and my friends are all just music fanatics, and we like the whole pandemic. This we had this really great app called Jukebox, and we had these record nights multiple nights a week, and everybody logs on and it connects to your Spotify, and it's just a giant jukebox, and it's like there's a little chat room, and it's just like everyone just picks a song, and it's just like a record night, you know. And we just like, that's how we got through the pandemic, and we just listen to just everything. It's just all over the map.
Yeah, those are awesome
to, like,
times.
Sepultura, you know, and like Anthrax to like, you know, Benny Goodman, you know, and Ray Charles, you know, and Nina Simone. And it's just like, it really is all over the place.
Yeah, we used to have, you know, before the pandemic hit, we'd have everybody come over to my place and go through my record collection, and we called it A-side, B-side night, because you got to pick a record, but you could only play one side. And that was always like, oh, there's 3 on this side. There's 3. Oh, man, which side?
Yeah, that's cool. I love that.
So here's a question. Impending doom is coming. The world's going to end in 5 minutes, and you have to listen to one song. Do you know what song you would listen to?
Without a doubt, it would be I Believe in You by Talk Talk. And Talk Talk is probably my biggest influence of all time, and probably just my ultimate go-to, and was a huge influence on all of the stuff that we did in Elliott as well. And still to this day is just like, it's like, I know, the ultimate, the penultimate for me.
What song would you pick for the montage of your life?
Let's Work by Prince.
All right. Wow, you do love music because you come up with them really quick. I appreciate that.
I just gave you the first thing that came to my mind.
And that should be right. So I can't wait to see your montage. Here's Rolling Stone categorizes as someone's favorite band. I don't do that. I look at, is there an artist or a band that's never let you down with their music that you just can constantly go back to and they just never let you down?
Bjork, maybe? God. I mean, I feel like she's just constantly reinventing herself, and has just like never, ever let me down. Ever. As far as
awesome.
If we're talking modern, if we're talking like people who are still releasing records, you know?
Yeah, and
you
listen,
can always count on Bjork. Like, she's never going to let you down.
Well, she can change it up. Harvey. She can do, yeah. PJ Harvey's last song was so awesome.
Yeah, she's always been a huge influence as well.
Well, listen, I've kept you here for almost an hour, and I know your time is very valuable, and we can't thank you enough for being here. We're going to get on to part 2 soon, which is cool. Chris will be coming on next. So, but we're going to wind down here, and I'm going to ask you a question, and I think you basically already answered it, but we like to make a list so we can put it out. But 3 things that Kevin is listening to right now that he'd like other people to listen to.
Oh man. Well, one of the first things I'm going to mention is this record that I didn't even know existed until a few months ago, and it has been kind of on repeat for me, which is the final Queen record, which is called Made in Heaven. And they released it after Freddie died, and it's a record of, it's kind of like a compilation of stuff that he was kind of working on, or they were kind of working on. It was unfinished, and then the band finished it without him. And it's just like these recordings of him playing the piano that they built these songs around, that is just like so uplifting and so beautiful and so emotional, that is just like, it's been a huge one for me. It's a tearjerker. That one's been a huge one. Spirit of Eden by Talk Talk is like just a perfect album for me, and it's just been a huge inspiration for me. And the last one would be any of the Ashram tapes from Alice Coltrane. She used to release these recordings that she would make and release on cassette, and they were only available to people who came to her ashram here in California. And recently there's a label, I can't remember what the name of the label is, that just released all of the ashram tapes of all her cassettes of her. Like, it's just unbelievable. It's probably if I had to listen to one thing for the rest of my life, it might be that.
All right. Awesome. Good 3 for our weekly 3s. So Kevin, again, this has been an absolute delight for me to have you here.
Oh man, thank you so much. It was such an honor, and it was really fun. Great question.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And, I just want to say that if anything could have happened to me in my life, this was a really great experience for me. And I really appreciate it, because no matter how much I tell you, Elliott was a huge part of my life. And thank you for everything that you've created and continue to put out in the world, and all the things you do with other artists, producing and engineering and doing stuff like that. You do great work, and I just want to say thank you so much. Well,
thanks for listening and for caring and for offering to share the things that you love with the world. That's how we get by.
Yeah.
And come find me at Furnace Fest. We'll have to have a laugh.
No, absolutely. I cannot wait. And, it's really my number one reason to spend the money this year to go to Furnace Fest, is to see you guys perform. So
hopefully it's good. That still remains to be seen. We don't know if we can do it yet.
Listen, we're going to meet up before you go and perform, and I'm just going to pump you filled with water so nothing happens to you.
Yes. Thank you. I appreciate that. We'll need that. I don't drink enough water.
Everyone, you know what you got to do. Go out, listen to Elliott, and have a great fucking time. Thanks again for tuning into the Hidden Tracks podcast. We hope you enjoyed this week's show. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at HiddenTracks99. Also, send all your submissions myhiddentracks99@gmail.com. Tune in next week. You may find your new favorite band, and don't forget to go out and have a great fucking time.